Hi everyone and Happy New Year! I hope it's going well so far. It seems a little strange for me saying that because I'm still in mid-December at this moment in time while I'm filming. This is the final video that I will be filming before I'm taking a couple of weeks off to spend with my family over Christmas. So I am super excited. I will come back refreshed in the new year and film my full face of affordable favourites, which is coming up after this video, so I'm really looking forward to that one as well. In this video, I am going to be applying all of my ultimate favourite products, so hopefully by this point you've watched all of the episodes in the Favourites of 2022 series. You will know what my favourite foundation is, my favourite concealer, my favourite blush, bronzer, and all of that, and then later on in this video I will also be updating you on my favourite powders and lip combos. Those two videos I decided to get rid of in this year's Favourites of 2022 series just to streamline it a little bit, but I will be filling you in on my favourites in those categories as well during this video. So let's get straight on with it. If you're new here, hi, my name's Gemma. I upload new content on YouTube every single week and I would absolutely love it if at some point in this video you would consider coming and joining the Pampered Wolf Pack by clicking that like button, the subscribe button and the notification bell. Okay, we are going to get straight on with it. I've got these Schwarzkopf Got To Be brows and edges, and I am going to rub that all the way through my brows. Go downwards first, make sure everything is coated, and then put them back. And I'm being really messy with this. You don't need to be precise because I am going to clear up the area straight afterwards. Then I'm going to take my Lancome Instant Cleanser and just douse a Q-tip in the cleanser, clean up all the way around those brows so there's no residue whatsoever of the Got To Be brows and edges still on my skin. Opting for my ultimate favourite brow pen, which is the NYX Lift and Snatch in the shade Ash Brown. This is also affordable, so you know there are some affordable products in my ultimate favourites as well. They're not all uber expensive, although you know some of them are. There's just no getting away from it, but there will be an affordable alternative favourites coming very soon. I'm so excited for this year. I really am, and I'm not quite sure why I'm so excited for Christmas this year because it's going to be like no other. My house looks like a bomb's hit it right now. There's scaffolding's still all up outside. We're living in a very dusty mess. I don't even have my Christmas decorations up like I usually have them because all the rooms, I mean, I don't have access to all the rooms, but I'm still really excited and trying to make the best of it. I love Christmas. It's my favourite time of year. So I'm going to move on to eyes now my brows are completed. Using my P. Louise base, I'm just going to pop a little bit on the centre of my lids and then just blend that out with a brush. This is the shade 2.5, but I can actually get away with using quite a few other shades as well. I know this is incredibly difficult to get your hands on at the moment because it went viral on TikTok, so then everybody wanted to get their hands on it, so it's constantly out of stock, but it's definitely worth the wait in my opinion. So I'm filming this literally the day after my favourite foundations of 2022 video went live, and there were so many people in the comments section asking me not only what eyeshadow I was wearing, but could I create that eyeshadow look in a future video? So I'm going to do that today. I am using my ultimate favourite eyeshadow palette of 2022, which is pretty new to me. This is the Jadestone eyeshadow palette from Bobbi Brown. It is limited edition if you want to get your hands on it. They tend to sell out of these quite quickly. I'm not saying this one is going to sell out. I mean, it might already have sold out, but if you do want to get your hands on it, you need to buy it relatively quickly. So firstly, I'm going to dip into the lightest transition shade, and with a very small brush. This is unusual for me because usually I go in with quite a fluffy brush for the transition shade, but I really want to be quite specific where I'm placing it. So with my eye open, I'm going to put that exactly where I want it because I want it to be seen. I'm going to go in again and put some in that inner corner just to deepen it off a little bit, as well as slightly above. But I'm leaving this middle section blank. So I've not done any blending of that shadow whatsoever. I've literally just placed it on the skin. I am going to blend it out in a bit. It will not end up like this. Then I'm going to go into this slightly deeper yet cooler toned brown and place that on the outside edge and in that crease. Just tap, 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 just to deepen up that edge a little. The reason I love this palette so much is because you can create a really subtle nude neutral look. You can zhuzh it up a little bit with a bit of the champagne gold, but still it will be a nude look. But you can make it really deepened and really sultry for the evening. Still nude if you want it, but you can add a punch of colour with those greens and golds as well. And greens and golds are my thing. Everything that I need, I can get from this palette. So next I am going to pick up a fluffy brush and I'm going to go into this shade here, which is also a great inner corner highlight and also a brow highlight. If you're one of those people that does not like a really shimmery highlight underneath your brow bone, if you feel like it makes you look a little dated because you did it way back when in the 80s when it first became fashionable and you just don't want to do it again, this is such a great shade to do a brow highlight and an inner corner highlight without having any of the sparkle. It's really chic. So I'm just going to place a little bit of that shade, not a lot, but I'm going to buff all those shades together just to soften it off just a bit. I'm putting hardly any pressure on my brush at all, and then I'm just going to leave it at that. So the brush that I use right at the very beginning, the really small one, is the Refa 14 brush. There are loads of other brushes that would do exactly the same job, though you don't need to buy this one if you don't want to. And the really fluffy brush that is my favourite is the Refa 27 brush. It's such a great fluffy brush. It's got the right amount of density and you can get a really good blend with this one. Again, you don't need this brush to be able to create the look. So I'm going to move on to a flat brush, which is my Refa 02 brush, go into the medium toned green in the palette. Just going to pick up a little bit of that and tap that right on that outer edge. Just deepening that off a little bit. I'm leaving a bit of a gap to blend into that cool tone brown that we've just laid on the lid. And I'm being quite careful not to go above the crease with this. Once I've done about 4/5 of the lid, I stop at that inner corner. And for that, I'm going to use this really beautiful silvery green tone shade. It's so beautiful. And it really does lighten and open the eye up a little bit, but blends in beautifully to the shade that we've just laid on the lid. Look how stunning that is. Now you can build these shadows up as much as you want. The more metallic sparkle that you want, the more you can lay on the lid. But I was actually quite surprised, pleasantly so, how beautifully these build up with a brush, because usually the metallic shades are only workable for me with my fingers, and that isn't so with these. So I'm going to go back to my Refa 14 brush, that small brush that we started off with, and I'm just going to go around that edge just to blend it in a little bit, being really careful with the outer edge. I did say earlier on that this was more of a silvery green tone. Completely wrong. This is more of a really champagne goldy green, but it can work if you're wearing a cool toned look or even if you're wearing a warm tone look. It just blends in beautifully. So when I'm blending out the shadow, I'm literally hardly putting any pressure on my brush whatsoever. I'm going in very small circular movements that circle away from the center of the eye all the way out to the corner. And even though I'm staying right in that crease, because I'm going in circular movements, it just takes the shadow slightly above the crease, but only slightly. I just want it to poke through above the crease and have that really beautiful gradient look. So you could quite easily leave it there for this eyeshadow look. I am going to be putting a little bit on that lower lash line when I have the rest of my makeup done, but I want to use one more shade in this right in the center of the lid, and I'm just going to bring it up towards the brow bone, and that is this goldy tone here. This has the most beautiful tone to it. It's like an antique gold. It's very, very pretty. It looks expensive. So I'm just going to pop that, and I'm just dabbing it on, just little presses. I don't want too much on. I just want it to poke through and give you that little flecks of gold. So I'm just taking it up just above the crease, just to open up that eye area a little bit, give it a bit of light. Look at that. Ooh. Then I'm going to go back in with my Refa 14 brush and very, very gently just blend that in. I don't want any harsh edges, but I also don't want to blend it in too much because I want it to look like a ray of light in the midnight sky. It's incredibly special, this shade. Absolutely stunning. That's where I'm going to leave the eye look for now. I am definitely coming back to it later. We're going to move on to skin though. I'm going to use a primer, the primer that I've been liking, and it's by no means my ultimate favorite. I don't use primers every single day of the week, so please don't take it that you've all got to go out and buy this primer now, because it is quite expensive, and I haven't quite honestly made my mind up whether I would repurchase this once it's gone. But it is the TATCHA, the Liquid Silk Canvas. I do think it is very, very nice. You hardly need any of it whatsoever. And I'm just gonna pop this in the areas that I need it, that I have some larger pores that I want to smooth over. Then I'm gonna cover up my imperfections, and I don't have as many as I did a few weeks ago, so I am extremely happy. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but these bad boys do need covering over. So I'm going to take my ultimate favorite spot concealer, which is the NARS Soft Matte Concealer in the shade Light 2, which is vanilla. And I'm just dotting this over the top. No blending required. I'm just going to let that start drying down and really adhering to the skin. And then I'll pop foundation over the top and it'll just give me slightly more coverage. I can always go back in with this over the top of my foundation if I want a bit extra coverage, but that at the moment will do. So whilst I'm letting that dry down, I was thinking earlier on, do I go with mascara? And you know my ultimate favourite one is the MAC Stack, or I also mentioned in my favourite eyes that I've been using some false lashes recently, and I've never applied false lashes on camera, so do I give that a go today? I have worn fake lashes in every single episode of my favourites of 2022 series, so I guess it's only fair that I do that today. And the ones that I have are from a company in the UK called Lash Ribbons, and they are super affordable and they're really, really good. So I have 3 different sizes of these. The one on the top is 14mm, and then it's slightly smaller on the bottom, 12mm, and then I also have a 10mm for slightly closer to the inner corner of the eyes. I cut these down to size. I use one little 14mm and then 3 of the 12mm and 1 of the 10mm. And even though you can tell that my lashes are way much longer and way fuller than usual, so a lot of people would guess that I have fake lashes on, they're not way too in your face that you see the lashes before you see me. So I like to cut mine down to size. I pop them over there on the counter. I will show you how I set them out now, and then they're all there ready to apply when I need them. So at the moment, I think Lash Ribbons only ships to the UK. However, there are alternatives like Lashify. I just think this is a more affordable alternative to Lashify. So if you are in the UK, definitely give this one a go. I really like it. I haven't kept them on for masses of time because I get bored of seeing them, so 7 to 10 days is a maximum for me. Recently, I've been only leaving them on for a couple of days and taking them off and then reapplying them the day after. It's not because they're uncomfortable, because they're perfectly comfortable. It's just, I really do like to get in there with an oil cleanser, and you can't do that if you're using this because it loosens the bond. So you get an ultimate lash bond within the beginner's kit. It's black, and all you do is you take the very tiny wand and you press it up against the base of the lash underneath. And this is why I love these so much, because the lashes are placed underneath so you don't see any sort of ribbon on that top lash line. So you're free to go in with liner and blend out liner as you see fit. It just looks way more natural. So I'm not putting too much on, you only need a little bit. You can always add a bit more if it dries a bit too quickly. but that should do it. Then I'm going to take my lash tweezers and pick up the 14mm one. It's the only one I'm going to use on this eye, and I'm going to go in and do right on that outer edge. So going straight in, looking up, give it a little wiggle, and then press it underneath. Done. Then a 12. Push that on. Make sure you clean your tweezers. You don't want any of the glue left on. Then another 12. Another 12. And a 10. And then once they're all in place, clean off those tweezers and just go in and clamp them together just to make sure that they're all set. They might stick a little bit, but you just want to make sure that you've used your tweezers a little bit like a vice, just to make sure everything looks as natural as possible. So obviously with these you don't need mascara, you can just pop these on, a little bit of mascara on the bottom lashes and you're good to go. They remove really easily with an oil cleanser, but the Bond doesn't, so you do need the Bond remover, which you get from the same company, and I think that is so easy to use. You put it on exactly the way that you apply the glue and then leave it for 2 minutes and just rub it with your fingertips and it just all comes away effortlessly. Going in with my ultimate favourite foundation, the Clé de Peau Radiant Fluid Matte. So this is in the shade 010, which is light ochre. And even though I think it is the perfect foundation for me, please bear in mind that I test out foundations for a living, so this is a business expense for me. I am under no illusion that this is not an astronomically expensive foundation. And there are other foundations on the market that you will get very similar results from. This is just the one that is my ultimate favourite. It's also my mum's ultimate favourite as well. However, she would never have this in her arsenal of makeup had I not bought it for her. She would never go out and buy this for herself. Absolutely no chance. So I'm just wanting to put that out there. Even though this is my favourite, I don't think this is going to be for everybody, and makeup is not worth getting into debt for. Absolutely not. Popping a bit more of my NARS concealer just over the top, but only slightly, and then I'll blend that out with my fingers in just a bit. Then I'm going to apply my favourite concealer combo, a little bit of the Lancome All Over Concealer and a little bit of the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer. All the shades of these products, by the way, will be listed in the description box, as well as links to the websites where you can buy them if you do want to give them a go. So I'm just popping a little bit of each of those on the back of my hand, and then I'll just blend those together using my finger, tap off any excess, and then go straight in underneath my eye on both sides. Add a little bit more over the extreme darkness. I'm not using a colour corrector today, I'm just going in with the concealer. I've been doing that a lot recently, although I do have a favourite colour corrector, which is the Clinique one. Don't always find it's necessary. Look how good that is for cancelling out the darkness. Popping a tiny bit more over the darker areas, and I'm just going to leave that to dry down a little bit before I blend that out with my fingers. Favourite powder time, this is the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder in the shade Pound Cake. Comes in so many different shades, this one, but I like this one. It matches my skin tone really well. Just going to dab a bit into the lid and then go in with a fluffy brush and dust that around the perimeter of my face where I'm going to be applying any powder bronzer, because I don't want the powder bronzer to stick to any dampness that's still on the surface of my skin from the foundation. Then I'm going to dust over some of the NARS matte bronzer in the shade Vallarta using my BK Beauty 103 brush, just to pad that in place. If anybody has any tips on how not to get bronzer in your hairline, I would love to know, because the other day I went and bought a headband, but I can't get used to it. This is elasticated, so it leaves a bit of a ring around my face, which stays for hours afterwards. Defeats the object, really. I mean, I'd prefer to have bronzer in my hairline, but also when I have this on, it looks like I have a nappy round my head. Just can't get used to it. I mean, it's not pretty. It really isn't pretty, and no, I'm not gonna show you. I'm gonna take my BK Beauty 107 just to go underneath my cheekbone, just to lift that a little bit and give myself a bit of colour in that area, because I am incredibly pale. And as I've just added some onto my forehead, we just need to make it slightly more even. And again, down the sides of the nose, just to even it off a little bit, tiny bit on the bridge, and a bit on my chin. And if I'm looking a little bit dark in the face now with regards to my neck, then I'm gonna dust a bit down my neck as well. To finish off the eye look, I'm going to dip in with my Refa 03 brush into this lovely antique gold and pop that right underneath in the centre, right underneath that lash line. And then on the same brush, this deeper shade of green that we applied on that outer edge of the lid space, and just dragging that to the corner of the eye, right to that outer corner, and then just blend it in very softly into the gold. Then I'm going to dip into this cream powder. I'm not only going to put a tiny bit on that inner corner, but I'm also going to bring that underneath the eye as well, just slightly to highlight that area. And then I'm going to go underneath the brow bone as well and add a little brow highlight. Just opens that area up a little bit. Look at the difference. And yet no sparkle. Love it. So now that concealer is dried down, I'm just going to pat that in place to make sure everything is melted into the skin, and then take my Pat McGrath blurring under eye powder, which is my ultimate favourite. This has been my ultimate favourite for a few years now. It's just phenomenal. And on a powder puff, this is the Tati Beauty one. I don't think this is available anymore because Tati Beauty doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. I'm just going to pat that underneath the eye just to set that in place. Now these two concealers combined don't tend to move or crease on me, but this is just for added security. I'm going to add the tiniest amount of the MAC Stack on those lower lashes. Then go in with my favourite lip combo. This is from Huda Beauty and it's the Lip Contour 2.0 in the shade Honey Beige. I just think this is the most natural colour, blends really nicely into my natural lip colour, and then I'm going to apply a gloss over the top. So I'm going to apply this all over the lip body. So I could quite easily leave my lips like that, but I am going to pop a little bit of gloss over the top. This is my ultimate favourite and it's a newbie for me. It's the Victoria Beckham Posh Gloss in the shade Bungalow. I love this because it is so subtle and beautiful. And it's just the perfect nudie pink. I've always gone for quite a subtle lip look. I prefer to go really vibrant with my eyes and quite neutral on my lips. And to be fair, even if I'm not going vibrant on my eyes, I do tend to go quite subtle and neutral on my lips. I do love this lip combination. But we can't finish it there because we're missing my favourite product of all time, which is blush. And the most beautiful blush, which would complement this look so nicely, is from Chanel. This is the Water Fresh blush in the shade Warm Pink. It is so nice. It is just one of those blushes that makes my heart do a little bit of a happy dance. Don't know why I just shook that up then. It doesn't need shaking up, by the way, it really doesn't. Force of habit. So this is what it comes out like. It's got lots of different pigment particles in there. Break those pigment particles within the hydrating gel on the back of your hand and then go in with a brush. Well, this is what I do anyway. You can go in with your fingers or a sponge, and I like to dot that on. Just gives the most beautiful hydrated skin natural glow. I think it is the most beautiful blush I have ever used in my life. And I have used a lot. So finally, I'm just going to tap in the concealer and go over with my Huda Beauty powder and just buff out any harsh edges, dim down any shine that I don't want there anymore. If there's any patchiness with my bronzer, I like to just go over with my powder brush and swirl that around to get rid of the patchiness and just blend everything out beautifully. So that's it, a full face of all of my ultimate favourite makeup products of 2022. I absolutely love it, but let's not lie here, the star of the show is most definitely the Bobbi Brown Jadestone eyeshadow palette. I have used this palette in every single video during this series, so you just need to look back on the series. I mean, there were a couple of eyeshadow looks that were the same because I filmed a couple of videos on the same day, so had the same eyeshadow look, but every look that I created with this palette is completely different and stunning in its own right, and that goes down to how versatile this palette is. I just love it. Absolutely love it. There will be a full face of all my affordable favourites coming very, very soon, but until then, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and hope to see you all in the next one. Bye everyone.